Two of these videos in 2 weeks? Well, I finished the Superman video the week before and it just didn't upload in time, so I consider that to be the video for the week before. So in my mind, that's two of these videos in 3 weeks. Although if this doesn't upload by the end of the week, it actually will be that. Today's movie in question is number 88, The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl in 3D. I saw this on HBO Max, so I could not see this in 3D the way Robert Rodriguez intended. Maybe if I did, I'd have enjoyed it a little more, but judging by the reactions of those people who did see the 3D, probably not. This movie was worse than I was expecting. I figured the worst case scenario for this would be something on par with Teen Wolf 2, which is still terrible but much better than this. Fine, I'm not the target audience for this movie. It's definitely aimed at little kids, and I shouldn't be expecting it to cater to me, but why subject the parents to this by putting it in theaters? They got it right 20 years later by sending the sequel straight to Netflix. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. What is Sharkboy and Lavagirl? It's a 2005 kids movie from director Robert Rodriguez shortly after his original Spy Kids trilogy, and based on ideas that his children had. It also stars a young Taylor Lautner before Twilight. I remember this coming out. Though I've seen the first 3 Spy Kids in the theater, I had not seen this until now. But the association between this and Spy Kids was made very clear. On top of every commercial saying from the director of Spy Kids, there just aren't any other movies like Rodriguez's kid films. Even the 3D added to this. See, this was before 3D briefly became big. There was Spy Kids 3D, and then this. But enough of that. What is it that allowed this to be so savagely received by the same people who embraced Spy Kids? Well, to answer that, and so that this video can be longer, and so that I can add one of my world-famous intermissions, I watched the original Spy Kids again for the first time since the theater. This was Rodriguez's first and most well-known family film. Up until then, he was, and probably still is, known for his hard R-rated movies and his collaborations with Quentin Tarantino. But he apparently made a family short film before hitting it big and always wanted to make a full-length one. A quote on the Wikipedia page said that he decided to make this after finding out kids were watching his movies despite the R ratings, so why not make something that isn't inappropriate for them? But this still got a hard R-rated spin-off movie. Yes, Machete did first appear as the kid's uncle in Spy Kids. Rodriguez said he wanted to make something that looks like it could have been written and directed by a kid, and some of the creature designs were based on drawings he made as a child. The story is about 2 siblings who don't know that both their parents are retired super spies until they get kidnapped and the children get dragged into it. The villain is a very over-the-top children's show host who one of the kids is a big fan of despite the fact that it looks like something that he'd be too old for. And he's been kidnapping enemy spies and turning them into creepy monstrosities that he actually puts onto his show. The kids find that out from some people who work for him, who pretend to be with their parents' agency to get something they need from the kids. And they end up telling them everything they need to know. I guess now it's not unrealistic that these idiots got their asses kicked by a couple children. And it's a very bright, over-the-top action-adventure movie. It feels like a cartoon put into live action, or, of course, like it was thought up by a child. If any other director was given this story in live action, they would probably have gone down the Spielberg route and made it slightly more realistic and maybe a little darker and scarier. But Rodriguez is not interested in any of that. He wants to make this fun throughout. Although some of those creature designs will haunt my nightmares forever. And the story behind them is actually pretty dark, but it never feels dark is what I'm saying. The child actors aren't great, but then again, they were just children. But the adults play their roles with just the right amount of camp. The story is very bizarre, but it's done with such energy you somewhat almost buy it. Not all of the CG holds up, but it's not terrible, and the design of the sets and gadgets are amazing. Tangent, minor scene worth mentioning. Near the end, when the family is being threatened by an army of robot children and they think they're outnumbered with 4 against 500.
Here's what we do. I'll take the 100 on the right. Ingrid, you take the 100 on the left. Carmen, 100 center left. Junie, center right. It'll work. It'll work.
It's 500 total, Dad. We need one more person.
Until Machete comes in and stands by the father, ending his petty feud with him. So now it's 5 against 500, which is obviously much more reasonable because it means that everybody would only have to fight 100 each. Also, there's a post-credits scene. It's just the camera moving through the bad guy's lair for a few seconds. Not exactly Marvel. But either way, it's something that the kids would like and the parents wouldn't be too miserable in. I mean, my parents were content with it enough to take me to 2 more. Does it deserve such a high Rotten Tomatoes score? Well, from what I've seen from the critics' blurbs on the Wikipedia page, it's mostly because they were happy to see a live-action family movie with actual creativity and not just a bunch of cheap poop jokes. So, I guess in that context, sure. And so was a surprise critical and box office success. It spawned 3 sequels and a Netflix animated show. It's also seen as significant for the time because of the fact that it's about a Latino family. It's also probably the most upbeat franchise about government-sanctioned child soldiers ever made. But anyway, Rodriguez originally wanted to make this a trilogy, and despite each movie being less well received than the last, the trilogy was complete. But now what was next for Rodriguez family films? Well, he had another one coming up.
Let's kick some metal.
You live the danger.
Mega Race, the fastest, most dangerous race in the game world.
Glasses, quick. You get the glasses, because this time, you're part of the adventure. Spy Kids 3D.
Game over.
In theaters everywhere.
Watch it now.
A quote from Spy Kids 2 that has become somewhat popular online recently is,
You think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
speaking of which, The Adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl. This one actually was sort of written by a child. It's based on a story and concepts by Rodriguez's young son, Racer, with a few elements by his daughter, Rebecca. An admirable gesture that almost makes me wish I didn't hate it as much. The movie starts out with a quote, something along the lines of, "Everything starts with a dream." Yeah, that's a decent quote. I wonder who said it. And then the source fades in. Kinda cheap if you ask me. And then it goes into the backstory of Sharkboy.
Bird.
After being separated from his parents, he was raised by sharks and then actually became half shark for some reason. And then he washes up onto the shore near some kid where he tells him about life on the planet Drool. That planet was never mentioned before up till that point, and we have no idea how he got there or why he's here. Screw it, he's an alien now. They decided to change the story right in the middle of it. Okay, apparently while recording this, it turns out they explain more than I let on. Apparently he was searching for his father on other planets. They didn't say how he got there, but the point still stands, though. But either way, Lavagirl comes to take him back to his home planet. We don't know who or what Lavagirl is. Yeah, only Sharkboy gets a backstory. What, you want to find out more about Lavagirl? Here's some backstory. Girl, that's all. Fun fact. According to Wikipedia, Miley Cyrus was considered for the role but couldn't make it because she got another job at some other show that obviously couldn't have been a better deal than being in this box office bomb. But either way, this nonsense was made up by the normal kid, and he told it in his presentation on what he did over summer vacation. And somehow expected that to go well for him.
I was sound asleep when Sharkboy and Lavagirl woke me up, took me outside, and blasted me away to Planet Drool. Then Max and I had to kick some major evil booty. That's why I couldn't take out the trash last night.
Nice try.
Except they came to life because he spent enough time daydreaming about them or something stupid like that. And they took him away to their home planet, which is made out of terrible CGI. They have 45 minutes to save the planet before it's destroyed. When they said that, I checked to see that the movie had only been going for a little less than 15 minutes. And I did the math, and if all 45 minutes was shown in real time, that would mean that the movie would be over before the 1 hour mark. The timer is never shown again, but they must have gotten a pretty big extension and didn't know it. The bad guy is Mr. Electricity, a robot with the face of the kid's teacher, Mr. Electricidad, both played by George Lopez. Near the end, when the teacher sees his likeness in the villain, he asks why because he's not that bad, and I agree with him. Why? I didn't notice him trying to hold him back or anything. He's often scolding the kid's bully. He doesn't even say anything when he submitted the story instead of his presentation. I know what you're thinking. Hey, are you honestly spending this much time criticizing a story literally written by a child? Yes. Yes, I am.
It's my favorite. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Perhaps deserves the title, You're a Bad Play, Charlie Frown. I sort of twisted it there.
Just because it's based on something doesn't mean that the director can't take liberties, or, just not make the movie and make the poor kid's work so public. It would appear that most of the criticism for this movie when it was put out was for bad 3D. I would not know anything about this. I'm not even 100% sure I know how much of this was in 3D. I can definitely tell that it was 3D because of all the stuff flying at the camera. As I mentioned in my Piranha 3DD video, gimmicky 3D is one of the few good uses of 3D, and Rodriguez knew this was a gimmick. When 3D became popular again years later, the fourth Spy Kids movie made it gimmicky again by adding a scratch and sniff or something. But it apparently didn't work here, and it just made it look dark and murky. But on the flip side, maybe that meant nobody can see how bad the effects are. Seriously, this is some awful CGI. The scenes on Planet Drool look like the kids are in the middle of a video game with maybe not quite PS1 graphics but below PS2 graphics. Even Superman 4 had shots that didn't look like complete ass, but every shot here... And because it's 3D, they throw the bad effects right at you in big blobs that only vaguely look like what they're supposed to be. And also, unlike Spy Kids, the movie doesn't have the charm to make this childish story work. The children aren't great actors, that's to be expected, but the adult actors aren't much better. The performances have none of the over-the-topness that made Spy Kids fun. Although there's a brief reference in the Wikipedia page that says that critics praise the performances. It doesn't elaborate on that though. I guess there must be some reason Taylor Lautner got that role in Twilight. Maybe there were good performances in here and I just didn't notice because of how terrible the rest of it is. Random tangent scene. There was only one joke I laughed at and I'm not sure how much it was meant as a joke. So the heroes are talking to a broken down giant robot and the robot says he wishes he can take them to their destination but he could not move. And then Sharkboy says, "You can move your eyes and mouth, can't you?" And then his eyes and mouth are floating through the air and the heroes are riding on them. So now they're using plot points from whatever the hell's airing on Adult Swim at 3 in the morning. But whatever, it's a kids movie and I can see kids really liking it. After all, like I said earlier, it got a continuation movie on Netflix called We Could Be Heroes about Sharkboy and Lavagirl's children. Even though Netflix doesn't even have the original movie. It has the original Spy Kids trilogy and series but not the movie they actually made a sequel to. Now how are children going to understand the very deep and complex lore of Sharkboy and Lavagirl? This one gets credit for being good as harmless kids entertainment, even if for adults it's just so bad.
Baby shark, do 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 do, baby shark, do 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 do.